Okay, so let's dive into this. You sent over that YouTube breakdown for the new Thunderbolts trailer, and wow, there's a lot there.
There really is, especially with Sentry, right? And the Void.
Exactly. Sentry and his alter ego, the Void.
Yeah.
We've got this Film Bin Show channel analysis to kind of guide us here.
Good source, yeah. They usually have some solid takes.
Yeah. So the plan today really is to cut through the usual trailer noise and figure out what this preview actually tells us. You know, especially about the Void's role and what that means for the wider MCU.
Get the key stuff without getting bogged down, like you said.
Precisely. You wanted the essentials without feeling overwhelmed. So, yeah, let's jump right in.
Okay. Well, what's really interesting, like right off the bat, is how much the trailer leans into the psychological side of things. You know, with the Void front and center.
Totally agree. It sets a different kind of mood, doesn't it? For a superhero movie.
Absolutely.
And the timing, too. This trailer dropped right after that big Marvel panel at CinemaCon. Loads of buzz.
Right. They had the cast there, that special poster. They definitely built up the anticipation.
And then, boom, the trailer hits, and like the analyst pointed out, it's heavy on the Void. It's kind of surprising they led with that, maybe.
It is a bit surprising. Usually you'd expect the main hero Sentry to be the big intro.
Yeah.
Putting the Void so prominently suggests he's like a massive part of the story, maybe the central conflict itself.
Makes sense. And it is not quite the Sentry you'd expect either, is it? The analyst highlights how he doesn't have the classic costume on initially.
We only see a glimpse later.
So what does that suggest?
Well, it could mean Sentry's on a journey, maybe hasn't fully embraced the hero thing yet. Or it could even be the Void's influence, sort of suppressing that side of him already.
Ooh, interesting take. That fits with the Yelena and Red Guardian, too. The trailer shows them looking a bit lost after everything they've been through.
Yeah, kind of adrift.
And the analyst spotted that great detail, the old Black Widow costume poster in Red Guardian's place.
Oh, yeah, that little visual cue, it says a lot, doesn't it? Like maybe he's stuck in the past or struggling with who he is now.
Right. Makes you wonder how effective Val's whole recruitment thing is, if they can really change. And his new suit, where'd that come from? Val, probably?
Likely Val, yeah. Adds another layer to his whole deal.
And there's that dialogue, isn't there?
Yeah.
Hinting they might actually try to be heroes this time.
Yeah.
Which is a big shift for this crew.
Huge shift. The analyst nailed it. None of them really started as heroes. Makes for a very different team dynamic than, say, the Avengers.
Totally. You've got these flawed people, maybe morally gray pasts, trying to do good.
It's that anti-hero vibe, but with the Void hanging over everything, it feels way more complex and unpredictable.
Okay, let's talk setting. New York, big backdrop.
And you can't help but think of the Battle of New York, right? Avengers territory.
Exactly. But this time, where are they? The Avengers are just gone.
Yeah, conspicuously absent. That's a big question the trailer raises for you, the viewer. Like, major threat hits NYC, and Earth's mightiest heroes are doing what?
Busy. Off-world. The film kind of needs to explain that, right?
It almost certainly has to. Their absence is probably what lets the Thunderbolts step up, whether they're ready or not.
And speaking of the threat, the Void, we see him in that black costume. Looks very different from Sentry's usual gold and blue.
Right, a clear visual difference. The analysts even use some action figures to show it off better.
Huh. Yeah. The toys always spoil things first, don't they? Gives you a good look at the costume, even the hair feller.
It's standard practice now, really. But helpful. It emphasizes that Sentry and Void are distinct, even though they're linked.
Okay, so a key point the analyst raised. The Void sees himself as a god.
Yeah, he says something like that, right?
Which immediately makes you ask, well, is he? Like, is he a god in the Marvel sense, like Odin, Loki, or even the Celestials?
That's a really important distinction to make, and the analyst was right to question it. The Void is incredibly powerful, maybe even touching cosmic levels sometimes.
But not a god.
But probably not a god in the way Marvel usually defines it. You know, it's not just about power. It's about worship pantheons, divine realms, Asgard, Olympus, that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
The Void doesn't seem to fit that mold. There's no indication he's worshipped or part of some ancient god family. His power feels more internal.
Right. Power level alone isn't the only factor. And the analyst brought up that comic example, didn't they? Where the Void got beaten by Null.
Yeah, the Null, the symbiote god. That's a great point for context. Null is this ancient primordial darkness, a cosmic level threat.
So if Null could beat the Void...
It shows they're a bigger fish, basically. The Void is mighty, but there's a hierarchy. And his power isn't absolute or consistently cosmic, maybe. It fluctuates.
So the Void is described as... what? the embodiment of darkness. Fear, madness, all inside Sentry.
Pretty much. He comes out when Sentry loses control. Think of it like
Right.
The ultimate dark side, the shadow self unleashed.
And power-wise, they're similar, Sentry and Void.
Roughly equal, yeah. But the Void is just ruthless. He doesn't hold back. Plus, he's got things like mind control, psychological attacks.
It's stuff.
Oh, yeah. Even the Avengers, even Doctor Strange, have had serious trouble dealing with him in the comics because he messes with your head. He finds your fears.
We definitely see a hint of that power in the trailer.
Yeah.
That huge darkness spreading across the city.
Whoa, yeah. That visual, super striking.
Turning people into what look like shadowy figures.
It looks like it, and that lines up pretty well with the comics, like the analyst noted. The Void creates this dark territory, this domain, and people inside can get killed or transformed. The movie seems to be running with that idea, maybe tweaking it slightly for the screen, but the core concept is there.
So the movie version might differ a bit from the comics overall. The analyst mentioned that the Sentry-Void dynamic itself might be handled differently.
That's almost always the case with adaptations, isn't it? You have to streamline things, maybe change origins or relationships slightly for the movie format. It'll be interesting to see exactly how they portray that really complex, tragic connection between Bob Reynolds' Sentry and the Void.
And then there was that leak the analyst talked about, Avengers Tower.
Oh, yeah. Renamed Watchtower by Val.
Wild, right. Taking over the Avengers' iconic building. That feels significant.
Absolutely significant. It suggests a real shift. Maybe government control stepping in where the Avengers used to be, or just signals how much the landscape has changed. Definitely makes you wonder about the Avengers' status again.
And good point. Clarifying this Void isn't the same as the Voids from Loki.
Totally different things. Yeah, the analyst made sure to separate them.
The Loki one was like a cosmic entity outside time.
Exactly. A result of timeline pruning. This Thunderbolts Void is clearly established as being inside Sentry, a personality, a psychological threat made manifest.
Okay, so this Void's goal seems pretty straightforward then. Engulf the city in his darkness. Become the dominant force. Maybe that godlike figure he thinks he is.
That seems to fit his profile from the comics, yeah. It's all about dominance, proving he's the ultimate power, the opposite of Sentry's light. He wants to impose himself on everything.
Which loops back to the missing heroes question. If New York is getting swallowed by sentient darkness, where's Spider-Man? Where's Daredevil? You know?
What about the Hulk? Yeah, the analyst is right. The movie has to address that somehow.
Maybe they're tied up elsewhere. Or maybe the Void's power works in a way that they just can't deal with initially.
Could be. It creates the space for the Thunderbolts to be the ones who have to step up, doesn't it? Puts the focus squarely on them.
And on Val's plan going sideways, the analyst thinks Val probably meant to control Sentry.
Harness that power, yeah. That sounds like Val.
But Bob lost control, and boom, the Void is out.
Seems like a very plausible scenario. Val overplaying her hand, trying to control something uncontrollable. It would be a massive miscalculation with huge consequences.
So the Thunderbolts might end up fighting both. Val's schemes and the Void himself.
Potentially. The analyst even threw out the idea that Val might get taken down by the end. Imagine this team of misfits holding their own handler accountable.
That would be a twist. It would show some real growth for them as a team, maybe.
Definitely. While also fighting, literal personified darkness.
Speaking of fighting the darkness, the analyst mentioned some CinemaCon footage descriptions.
Oh, yeah. The stuff not necessarily all in the trailer.
Right, like Yelena jumping off a building, the team going into the Void's darkness.
Which we saw glimpses of in the trailer, too.
Yeah. And apparently the goal isn't just punching the Void. It's about helping Bob Sentry regain control.
Wow.
By going into that dark space and confronting the fears and nightmares within it.
Whoa. So like a psychological battleground?
Seems like it. The analyst suggested it might force each Thunderbolt to face their own past traumas too, mirrored in the Void's domain.
Okay, now that sounds really interesting. Adds a whole different dimension beyond just the big CGI fight. It could be a way to really dig into these characters.
Yeah, could be pretty powerful if they pull it off.
Agreed.
Finally, post-credits scenes. The analyst said no solid info yet, obviously.
Always the big guessing game.
But they speculated, right? Could be setting up a new Avengers team, maybe those new Avengers people talk about.
Or the flip side, the Dark Avengers. Maybe with Bucky leading, that's been rumored.
Or maybe some kind of combination, a unified team. Whatever it is, it sounds like it could be a big pointer for where the MCU is heading next.
Oh, for sure. Post-credit scenes are load-bearing walls for the MCU narrative now. Any of those possibilities, New Avengers, Dark Avengers, something else entirely, would reshape things significantly going forward. The fact we don't know just ramps up the speculation.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what's the big picture for you, the listener, after this deep dive? Guided by that film binge show analysis, it really feels like Thunderbolts is shaping up to be pretty complex, maybe even kind of dark.
Yeah, that focus on Sentry's duality, the Void's power. It's intense.
And the fact that the usual big heroes are missing, that really ups the stakes for this specific team, puts all the pressure on them.
And the whole idea of exploring inner demons, the struggle for control, it points to maybe a more psychological story than we sometimes get.
So hopefully this breakdown gives you a solid idea of what's potentially coming, but man, it leaves us with questions too, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Like, what are those specific fears the team will face inside the Void's territory? How do you even fight something like the Void?
And what does renaming Avengers Tower really mean long term? Is it just Val or something bigger about the Avengers' future?
Exactly. Lots to think about.
Yeah, lots to keep in mind as we get closer. Hopefully this gave you a clearer view and maybe sparked even more curiosity about what's coming in Thunderbolts.